One Piece Chapter 1162, God Valley Battle Royale sets the stage for Zebek's final stand at God Valley in his mission to protect his family Eris and Teach. Garp discovers the horrors that went on under his nose in the island, and Roger continues treasure hunting. And it all culminates with an epic double spread of our main players looking up at the ruler of the world in wonder and excitement. Let's get right into it. The first thing that we find out in this chapter is that Zebek and Figgle and Garling are engaged in combat in the northwest section of the island, and we're given a map showing Zebek and Roger and where they are in relation to the navy and the treasure. Roger knows exactly where the treasure is, and knowing they have Shaki in the danger zone, tells Rayleigh to get her to safety while he and the rest of the crew look for booty. And the opportunistic pirates that are fighting them realize this, so they switch focus to Rayleigh and attack him so they could steal Shaki for themselves. Even with the berries around, the most sought after treasure on the island is still Shaki. But the Rocks pirates are like, now hold on, we're not just gonna sit around while you try and steal Shaki from us, harming her in the process. We see Shiki and Whitebeard fight up some of the pirates while Rayleigh takes Shaki away, and Rayleigh says he has something to say to her, but she's like, I already know, Rayleigh. Now, we don't get to see what exactly it is that Rayleigh wants to say, but we can assume that it's either to confess his feelings to her or to ask her to marry him since they are married. Near the prize treasury, Kuma and Ivankov have snuck into the room, seizing their one and only chance to escape this wicked game. Find the two rare devil fruits, the pawpaw fruit and the fish model dragon fruit, and they don't waste any time before eating them. But just before they can, Big Mom snatches Ivankov by the throat and takes the dragon devil fruit from him. Big Mom jumps to snatch the paw fruit from Kuma, but he quickly eats it on the order of Eva. He says that they just need one devil fruit and one survivor in this game, and they will have won. Facing insurmountable odds, Ivankov continues to stay positive and tries to uplift others, even willing to serve as a sacrificial martyr in the fight for liberty. That is so in line with his character. Ivankov perfectly embodies the revolutionary motto. That's why his presence in the Rev army is so important, and why he's Dragon's right-hand person. On the island, the pirates are fighting to get back Shaki, and chaos is unfolding, which puts the navy at a conundrum. Should they retreat or should they fight and arrest them? I mean, they're taking themselves out, so they're thinking if they should let the pirates duke it out before they jump in. So the navy needs some kind of order and direction on where to go, and that's when we see Garp and Bogart running. Garp asks Sengoku like, hey, did you know all this was taking place? And Sengoku says there was once a man that reported rumors of the manhunt competition, but he has since vanished from the navy ranks. And Garp just can't believe what he's saying. He hopes this is all a dream because the ramifications of the navy supporting such a competition will be too foul for him to withstand. Honestly, finding the manhunt competition is a thing that really angers Garp. So let's hope Oda takes this somewhere with his character where he deals with this inner conflict and confronts whoever is responsible, or threatens to resign outright or go public with this information or something, because we all want to see Garp resist this establishment that is the world government. Next, we switch over to Zebek's point of view, who's fighting against the two God Knights and the Domi reverse members of the Davy clan. Eris questions whether these shadowy possessed figures in the God Knights are immortal or something, which they are as we know. Zebek is then seen running with her on his shoulder. He says that everyone else who got chased like them transformed, and he wonders just whose power this is. And we know in the present time in Elbaf, Imu uses Domi reverse to transform Dory and Bragi into these demons via some high power mind control. We see Eris's dad and Granny, and they have the same demon look that Dory and Bragi had after they returned. This is really bad. The God Valley incident just got a whole lot worse, because if there's Domi reversal, that means that Imu's either possessing a God Knight or actually here in person. But it makes sense considering in the present timeline, we know that God Valley was erased from the maps after this incident as told by Sengoku. In the next page, we see Garling, and he's bleeding and bruised, and he says that Zebek's hits will take longer than usual to regenerate. Perhaps this is a technique similar to what Scopper used on Elbaf when he cut Summers, or it could simply be Konkursaki, who knows. The other God Knight on horseback says even though the game is ruined, we now know that he's one of the Davy clan, which will excite the Great One, being Imu. We see Eris in Zebek's thought process as he carries her. She says he can't hold him off one-handed. He says anyone with a Davy lineage who is caught will go through what's worse than hell. But Eris knows this as she's part of the clan. And still, she tells him to let her go, because if she can't even protect their child, then he wouldn't have fallen in love with her in the first place. And she even goes as far as to tell him that she'll end both her and their son's life if it ever came down to it. She vows to meet with Zebek and Lulusia if they both survive this ordeal, and honestly, shout out to her. I like that she's standing up for herself and that she doesn't want to be a burden to Zebek or a nuisance to him in his fight against the God Knight. She wants to let him do his thing because she trusts in him to beat Garling and the God Knights, to which I kinda respect. And you see Zebek cheering up. He's relishing this opportunity to flex his muscles at who are essentially Imu's knights. Blackbeard and his mom Eris look back one last time, and this will actually end up being the final time they ever see him, which is a bit sad. Hopefully, when we get the Blackbeard flashback, we get more of Teach with Zebek and Teach with Eris. It'll be interesting to see if he can remember his father and mother, because he's only 2 years old when the God Valley incident happened. Moving on to the primary prize treasury, we see Big Mom satisfied with the one devil fruit she managed to steal. She would have liked to have both, but she says that she'll do with one. And obviously that devil fruit is the fish model dragon fruit, which she says she'll give it to Katakuri so she can have an all-powerful crew later on. Now, Big Mom was really about to give the dragon fruit to Katakuri. In my previous video, I posed this very question. You guys know how strong Katakuri is, as you all saw in Whole Cake Island by beating Luffy. Yes, Luffy technically won that fight because he was the last one standing, but I think Cat resigns towards the end. And if Cat really wanted to fight all out, it would have been over much sooner and in his favor. But that's neither here nor there. Imagine how strong Cat would have been if he had the dragon fruit instead of the mochi fruit. I think Big Mom would have easily had the strongest crew and a much better shot at finding the One Piece. But anyway, that's not how it goes, of course. Kaido sees her holding the fruit and sneaks her from behind like he always does. He eats the fruit with a smirk on his face, and Big Mom screams out in anger. Then we see the two men and women, Dragon and Eris, holding baby Shanks and baby Blackbeard in their hands, running to safety, saying they won't let anyone kill them. And this is a cheeky parallel of panels drawn by Oda. It's very intentional. You have Blackbeard on one hand and Shanks on the other hand, on the same island on the same day, needing to be saved by their heroes. And it's also a bit tragic because Shanks and Blackbeard end up resenting and fighting one another in the end. But when you look back at their beginnings, they were both saved from the clutches of evil that is the Celestial Dragons. Blackbeard could have easily been killed by the God Knights or worse, and Shanks would have ended up being raised by the Celestial Dragons and become just as evil and tyrannical as they are. And get this, extra layer of irony is that in the near future, I think Blackbeard will fight Shanks again, and this time he'll end up taking him out. You know, it's almost funny. In One Piece, everybody gets a sad backstory, even the greatest villain of them all. Now we know Big Mom and Kaido are at the primary prize treasury, but in the secondary prize treasury behind the game stage we see the Roger Pirates. And they're all excited to see all this gold and treasure in one place. Apparently they've never seen such a thing. But when they're ready to haul it in, they're attacked by the Marines. And Garp is questioning what exactly is the point of wrapping justice on the back of their capes on an island where everything is unjust. And I like this moment. Here is one brief glimpse at the inner conflict that Garp is experiencing, and more of what I wanted to see. But we quickly move on to the prisoners on the island, desperately clinging on to the hopes that the Navy would come and save them, to which they hear no response. And then we see one of the Gorosei members, Saturn, and Imu asks Saturn if Rox is dead, to which he says he doesn't know. But of course Saturn is there. I feel like anytime there's nefarious activities of the highest order in One Piece, Saturn is right there. But he warns Imu that the prolific danger that exists in God Valley might actually lead to unwanted consequences, which Imu says must not happen. I think what Saturn is referring to is the emergence of powerful new pirates after the God Valley incident. You know, once the Rocks and the Roger Pirates intervene in this competition, there would be too much commotion for the world government to just let it slide. And if the devil fruits fell to the wrong hands, then it would end up being more trouble for them in the future, as we see with Kaido. The next page shows why Kuma is one of the best characters in the story. He has seen how the people in his position are treated, but is still sympathetic towards the prisoners on this island. So he goes and saves as many people as he can with his new devil fruit ability to transport them into different locations around the world, but making sure that wherever they go, it is very much safe to be in. Kuma, even after going through all the pain and suffering, and after everything he's been through, he still wants to help the others make it out before himself. He's always been selfless, and we all know how he sacrificed himself for Bonnie in the last arc. It's still very fresh in my mind. Him as a half robot, half humanoid, saving Bonnie from Saturn. He's just one of the most well-written characters in the story, hands down. But back on the island, all three, Roger, Garp, and Zebek, sense a demonic presence at God Valley simultaneously. Imu has touched down in God Valley, and Zebek for sure knows this, but this is the first time Roger and Garp have seen him. Roger now realizes that there is a bigger fish to fry, and then we see the panel of the chapter with with Zebek standing shaded in black, surrounded by the bodies of the God Knights, with his sword planted in the ground. Zebek is making his last stand, and he says that if this is gonna be my end, then he'll go out fighting like a proper man. And he's made quick work of the God Knights, because just a few pages ago, he left Eris and Teach to fight the two knights, but he's already mopped them both. Darling especially looks to be in really bad shape. Whitebeard and Kaido join Zebek in his fight. For now, the others are nowhere to be seen, and Zebek asks his mate Whitebeard if he really wants to do this, and he comedically says, yeah, cause I've been drinking on the tap all this time, so I owe you. Kaido is really only there because he loves fighting, and he just got the dragon fruit, so he wants to test it out. Right after the three reunite, we see Imu manifesting right out of Saturn's body. Garp cannot believe what he's seeing. He thinks he's dreaming. Roger is excited to find out that such a thing even exists. He looks at it like a grand adventure. And Zebek, of course, already knows what this is. He tells Whitebeard that right there, my friend, is a representation of the world. Wow. Things have taken a turn in this chapter. I didn't think Imu would actually land on God Valley. Like, I know something had to happen for the island to disappear from the face of the earth, but I would have imagined it to be with the use of an ancient weapon like with Lucia, but both it and Saturn are here, which means that this flashback cannot be going on for too long after this, right? I still don't see how Zebek ends up fighting Roger and Garp. Like, that doesn't make any sense with how things are going. But anyway, that is the chapter. Guys, what did you think of it? Did you like it? Did you not? Comment down below your thoughts. Like, subscribe, and turn the bell notification on to be notified of new uploads. And I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.